I'm very flattered that the chapter asked me to speak, and I want to thank the chapter, first of all, and I'm very inspired by my fellow fellows. So tonight I'd like to give you a challenge, and here's the challenge. What kind of legacy will you leave? So I want you to take a minute and fantasize with me. Everyone close your eyes, get comfortable in your seat. Imagine you are 90 years old.
Coming up.
Pat, especially. You are healthy, you are happy, maybe your knee hurts you, maybe you can't hear quite as well as you used to, but in general, you're satisfied with your work, your goals have been met in life. Imagine how this might feel. Just take a few seconds. Now imagine one more aspect of this fantasy and ask yourself, how will the world have changed because of me? Okay, you can open up your eyes now. So when you're young in our field, design is an ache. You know, you can't stop thinking about it. It's like a new love. Your whole filter is through design. And you have mostly designer friends. You wear black a lot. And you dream about being part of the most high-profile design project in the world with $1 trillion budget. And, you know, it not only gets shared on every hipster blog, but it gets written up in the New York Times and the Harvard Business Review and publications like Metropolis and Wired, and you win lots of awards for it. Am I right, you guys? We've all had that particular design fantasy, especially Pat. So my particular flavor of that design fantasy is what we now in the industry call design for good. And when I graduated RISD, I had a project that talked about that we had to do some work for disadvantaged peoples in Latin America and the Caribbean. And after that, I always felt like I wanted to use my skills to help people. And it's really been the work, the focus of my work and my career for my entire life. And this is our tagline and our mission at Beth Singer Design. And early on in the development of Beth Singer Design, we made a commitment to work primarily for the nonprofit sector, and in particular those organizations who were helping to make the world a better place. Helping kids to get a better education, sharing disaster relief practices, strengthening America's bonds with other democracies, or supporting research that brings better health services to millions of people, that type of thing. And now, since we've been at it for such a long time, clients seek us out to help them raise millions of dollars, change minds, and get ordinary people to act on their values in support of their causes. So, 500-foot stage we did for the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, projected stage. And I have to admit, I do get blissed out, and I feel I've made a difference when Shimon Peres, the Prime Minister of Israel, or Vice President Joe Biden speaks on a stage that our firm designed. Or Hillary Clinton, then First Lady, shakes my hand at the White House and thanks me for important work I'm doing on behalf of youth at risk. Or I'm able to introduce my parents, that was the best, to First Lady Barbara Bush at a conference sponsored by CBS on improving America's educational system. So how has this work made a difference? Well, we're ensuring that Israel remains a viable and strong as a democratic ally of the U.S. through our work with American Israel Public Affairs Committee on a campaign that raised over $225 million. For the first time, the Red Cross offers a unified and comprehensive set of health benefits to its 28,000 employees. After the campaign we worked on rolled out, the Red Cross had its highest rate of enrollment, 89% in the benefit plan. White House-sponsored teacher recognition program is raising the standards of science and mathematics teaching. And with our help, particularly in the messaging, press coverage increased 750% over a 4-year period. And it really shined a spotlight on the critical need for high-quality math and science teachers. So, back to my challenge. What kind of work would you do to make the world a better place if nothing stood in your way? Switching gears here slightly, when I was first starting out, I really didn't understand how money intersecting with design could make a difference in a positive way. And now I do, and I want to demonstrate to you the power of money to do good in our world, in the designer world. In 1997, I was invited to serve on the National Board of Directors of AIGA, and I had a number of opportunities to do something much bigger than myself. That's kind of what they expect you to do, something that could move the profession forward. And one of the first projects was to develop a sponsorship program for the chapters, so they actually had funding beyond what they were taking in at the door for their programs. And up to this point, many of the chapters, they were losing money. They couldn't support their programs with just the money that they took in from membership and from their program fees. And the basis of our plan was to leverage what we already had, what already existed. The chapters have buyers, goods and services, and the vendors want access to those buyers up close and personal. Very simple concept. Sam was on my committee. Sam and I have done all kinds of work like this together. And together with a few others, we worked up a set of guidelines so the chapters could offer the sponsors exposure to their members in exchange for underwriting the chapter's programs. And this arrangement was quickly a win-win. It was a giant step forward for the chapters, and it fundamentally changed the way the chapters operated. Sponsorship dollars came pouring in, chapters had more money available for programming, and membership grew exponentially during this time period. In 2007, Mira Ozarm, the president of the chapter at the time, asked the advisory board, who were all past presidents, to create an event to raise money for design education scholarships. A group of us, again including Sam and Dan Banks, who I understand works here, put together what we hope to be a game changer. Our vision was to create an endowment, which is a large amount of money that when invested would throw off enough dividends or interest to fund the scholarships in perpetuity. We named the initiative the Continuum Fund, and it's still in existence, of course, today, and here's the website for it. And the chapter has done an excellent job of continuing to raise money since 2007 on an annual basis. Many of you, I know, have given to the Continuum Fund and attended the events and have had the opportunity to meet students whose lives have been forever changed by our collective generosity. And this year, Mira Arissueño, did I get that right?
Yep.
Okay, art director at Graphic, and she's going to speak a little bit about the fund right after me, is heading up an event for the 30th anniversary of the chapter that will raise enough money to put the endowment piece in place as opposed to the annual appeal that we've been doing for the past 7 years. So not only will we be raising money on an annual basis for scholarships, but we will have a permanent way after this year to fuel the pipeline of designers in perpetuity, possibly well beyond our lifetimes. If other chapters use our model, which was our vision, this is what's possible. Not bad in 10 years to give away $1.6 million in scholarships for an industry that has traditionally had a lower pay scale than doctors and lawyers. And the model is sustainable, meaning it can be replicated by other chapters without weakening the original premise. If you've given to the Continuum Fund, part of your legacy is already fueling the next generation of designers. Lastly, I want to talk about one more aspect of leaving a legacy, and that is introducing design thinking to very young minds. When I was 6 years old, I was given a project by my first grade teacher, and it was to make a book about dinosaurs, and I fell in love with the Brontosaurus. And I wrote the book, I illustrated the book, I put page numbers on it, which was unusual for a 6-year-old, and I hired my friend, who was a 10-year-old, my neighbor, for 5 cents to do my hand lettering. And I didn't, at that time, of course, I didn't know what a designer was, but somehow I knew after that experience that I wanted to do something like this when I grew up, and literally that experience set the trajectory of my career. I really wanted to be able to open that door for other 6-year-olds. Fast forward to today, my wonderful husband Howard and my business partner and I have been developing curriculum and delivering it into the public schools by offering design thinking experiences that dovetail with their curricula. Now, we've been at it for 7 years and have delivered about 25 lessons from grades 1 through 6, and that corresponds with our daughter, Lena, who's right in the middle of the room there, her grade school experience. I'd like to show you 3 projects, 1st grade, 3rd grade, and 5th grade. Our format is that Howard composes and gives a visual lecture on the concept, so you'll see some of the slides from the visual lecture. This is for 1st graders, and I offer them a hands-on experience. And we've used Beth Singer Design to fund our efforts thus far, but now we have a body of work that we want to leverage with an educational publisher. Our elementary students understand the fundamentals of typography, the origin and use of symbols, how mathematics integrate with design, signage, and legibility, and how words and pictures combine more powerfully than either one can do on their own. This one was on kente cloths and how symbols have meaning in society only because we agree on their meaning. And we made up our own symbols, and then the students were asked to make up their own kente cloth telling their own life story using only the symbols. We required the students to sketch first so they can plan their design. And the students were so proud of their kente cloths and their life story. And this last one is about heraldry and how heraldry was really the beginning of identity work, personal identity and institutional identity, and how it gave way to logos and had to be readable, legible. At that time, knights, when they were in a suit of armor, they were used to distinguish one knight from another. And we talked a lot about legibility, and we demonstrated legibility on the highway and how legibility is important for safety. We talked about typefaces that are more legible and therefore more safe. And the students were asked to design their own shield and also to write their own motto, write their own tagline with the objective of it being very legible. And they had a ball. We just did this one recently. Creative and wonder is her family motto. Caring yet resilient. Last name of this student is Sharky. A shark there. Okay, back to the challenge. help Mila create the Continuum Fund endowment. Join Howard and me on our next design thinking lesson. Talk to me about your ideas for creating a better future. I'm very interested in this and I would love to support you. Make the world a better place before you leave it. Create your own legacy. Thank you.
Let's give another round of applause to Sam Shelton, Pat Taylor, and Beth Singer. I'm 99% sure in the introduction I referred to RISD as RISD.